What's up, guys? This is What If Issei Refused to be Rias Gremory Slave Part 4. Now, it's a hard one to do so far, so sorry about my long hiatus, but I'm back. Or at least for now. Sorry, guys, I started a job, so yeah, so I can make some actual cash, since this is all for free. Anyway, in this version, like I said, like y'all know, Issei had lost his arm in the last part, if you made it to the end. Now, thing is, we will have to make something happen for that. Like I said, Azazel gave him a new arm, but at the same time became the director of the Occult Research Club. The same club Issei is now the manager of. Not quite manager, but he's the president of. Now, this would make a few things happen. Issei knows a few things. One, Rias is pregnant with his kid, and everything else. He knows all the girls that are apparently pregnant with his kid, his girls, the slave girls, except for there's a handful of girls that aren't. The fallen angels are, well, the fallen angel girls are, well, not quite, well, not the fallen angels, no, I'd say they said they were pregnant with Donaseek's kid. The student council is pregnant with Saji's kid, and surprisingly enough, Kiba's not the father to any child, and he was starting to wonder, is he sterile or some shit? That's weird. So he actually asked, is there a way to check that shit for him? He just went to go to a doctor's and they found out, yeah, kind of, not quite. He's not sterile, but he just not as, capable as most. Probably all the training he does with the sword. Anyway, like I said, let's get back to this. Gasper did the same checkup, similar kind of thing. Now, this is when Issei found something out. He has a very, very active capabilities. Now, in this version, there's going to be a slight difference, though. They're about to go to the underworld, which is normally not a big deal. But there's one small thing. One, they will still have to deal with a few people who are powerful. Although in this version, when pieces are about to be made, small difference. Let's start off at the beginning. With Issei walking in, they're riding on the train. They all go to the Gremory Mansion, except for a small event happens. They all fall, and Issei stands strong, looking eye to eye with a dragon that's a bare minimum Dragon King level. Both of his dragons know who this is, but he does not. And they don't tell him they know who it is. So Issei has an idea. He'll kill this thing. As Issei's eyes open with rage, as his first blast was a magical breath attack, which are what dragons use. It's magical flame. Issei, his eyes opened, and flames shot out of his mouth. They matched firepower for almost a minute straight, until both of them got a breath in. Thing is, Issei had an idea. He could destroy this thing. As he flew forward, he one-shot the giant dragon, sending it flying. Admittingly, though, that took every boost he had gathered, which spent almost the entire time fire-breathing, gathering boost after boost after boost. Now, this is when Issei figured something out. The magic canceling could let him mess with things, as he started using that to block every single attack thrown by this thing. Until the point where he literally looked eye to eye with this dragon. He knew he was outpowered, maybe 100,000 to 1, and he actually made this thing use a full percentage of its power, which in the canon it wasn't even using a millionth of a percent. So him using a full percent at this same stage is crazy. This is when the dragon is actually starting to get kind of scared. It's Tannin, by the way, though he doesn't know this yet, so he keeps fighting at full force. When he actually had an idea. He doesn't have to hold back. As he sees Ravel about to be hit in the stomach, knowing what this would do, his eyes opened. He stood in the way. Every step he took started making the ground start to shake. His gear starts to appear. His arm went from its human look while his right arm went from its human look straight into its dragon look. His speed increased 20-fold. This was his true base power. And even the gear started to yell boost. Until you hear boost. And it wasn't from the gear. It was from Issei. An almost dead voice started walking forward. As every step he took, the entire world started to quake. Even Sir Zex was a little bit frightened by this power. It was bare minimum top 2 of existence. This made even Great Red and Ophis turn their heads, because they could feel each other's power, but this wasn't each other. This was a person on their level, possibly even above. That's only because rage surely fueled him. He walked up. Surprisingly enough, Sir Zex jumped in, catching the blow from Issei, though crunching in his entire left side. As he fell to the ground, he looked eye to eye with everyone, with the person he admired one of the most out of every person he's ever met. Issei said, "Sir Zex, why?" As this is when Tannin shrunk down and apologized to Issei with everything in his body, and started calling out for his master, seeing if he was alright. His master, who was barely even a shell at this point, started to die until Issei stopped it, as he pulled out a phoenix tear that he had from Ravel. He popped it and put it on Sir Zex. In an instant, Sir Zex was back to 100%. Sir Zex looked eye to eye with Issei and said, "Maybe the training was a bad idea." "Alright, come here." As he picked Sir Zex up, since Sir Zex, while most of his wounds were gone, all his energy was expended, because he hit with his right arm, meaning all the magic in Sir Zex was knocked out as well. As behind him you could see a giant power flow, which was not Issei's punch, which yes, there was a lot of power from it, but it all sent back into a mountain where a huge amount of magic hit as well, to an even bigger blast. As Issei picked him up and they walked him all the way to his area, this is when Grafia apologized so much to Sir Zex that she wasn't there to stop that hit. This is when Sir Zex actually said something that surprised everyone. Grafia, if you would have tried stepping in for that attack the way I did, you would have died instantly, before it even made contact. But you know I'm strong enough to take any attack, even from you. That wasn't my level of an attack. What was it then? It was bare minimum, Ophis level. Hearing this terrified them. Ophis level? There's no way the kid's at that point. As this is when Tannin actually said it's true. If I had been the one to take that attack, I may not be standing here right now. Only because of its size, I would have been hit. I definitely would be missing at least one of my limbs. As this is when Issei actually looked eye to eye with Tannin and actually apologized, saying he actually thought he was going to try to kill his unborn child inside one of the loves of his life. Tannin started to say, "No, I'd never. But I am sorry to make you think that, the amount of stress it must put you under." As Tannin gave him a hug and apologized with everything in his body, asking if there's anything he could do. This is when Drake actually said something that surprised him. So did Bahamid. "Dragon apples. Request dragon apples." "All right. A dragon apple. No, one, not just one for you, for everyone." "Fine." I just looked at his entire group saying, 20 dragon apples. Stiff bargain, but deal. "Why, are they expensive?" "They're second only to the Phoenix tiers in cost." Issei said, "What the fuck? I know how much those motherfuckers sell for. How much are they second by?" "Fairly little." "So you mean they're one of the only 2 things in the underworld that are worth so much? In fact, the black market would pay millions for one. And I just requested 20 of them motherfuckers. Are they big?" "About the size of a human head." That's pretty big, I guess. Yes, at least that's the smaller ones. A full-size dragon apple can reach the size of about your wingspan, you say. Really? So it can become human-sized? Mostly, yes. Alright, guys. I'm starting to lose feeling in my fingers real quick. So I'm going to take over with my other hand, so it'll take a second. Alright. It's cold. Anyway. So back to what if. As Issei starts to actually talk with Tannin more and actually wondered more about these apparently dragon apples that Dragon and Bahamut had asked for. So he asked them. And he said they were just delicacies from the dragons love so much. This one, Issei said, really? Food? Yes, but it has a few properties. Like, it's good for the body. Any dragon will double its strength. If you eat 100 dragon apples, your dragon will double its strength. How many dragon apples have you eaten, Tannin? Well, I'm on my 188th. Holy shit, even you haven't eaten that many? No. If I had, I probably would be twice what I am now. But then other dragons like myself would have starved. So I'd rather not. So is 20 a really high request? Quite the high request, my boy. But luckily there was a high harvest of them this year. So it's fine. How many did one person each get? One dragon each get? Normally one a year. Why haven't you had more then if it's one a year? Well, most of the time I eat things that aren't dragon apples. Knowing how good they are? Yes. So, what do you normally eat? This is when he said, come with me. As he showed a giant beast, resembling somewhat of a cow, but way bigger, like, I'd say, about a full football field in length and about 3 of them in height. Or, about 3 in both. Huge, monstrous animal, even bigger than Tannin himself, by far. Issei asked what it was. He said, we call them hell bisons. Are they good? I think so, yes. So, how much do you have to eat of one for you to get full? Half. So, are they at the verge of extinction, I guess? Not quite. What do you mean? As this is when he says, that is a baby hell bison. What? One of those. Half of that would get me full. What's a full-size one look like? Well, look down. What do you mean? We're standing on one. Really, as it jumped off where it was laying in the ground. It was laying in a giant hole that was crazy hard to fill. It was as if it was like 4 tannins. All together. Full wingspan around in one giant circle. Tannin said, this is the mama. We won't hunt the mothers when they're still feeding, but being a hell beast that size, I think it's a full one. Should be alright to take the mama now. Wait, so it's just like a cow, yes. So, how much could you eat of one of these? Hardly any. 1 steak full. Really? As Issei said, I'd like one of those. Are you sure you can eat that much, lad? If we made one human steak sized. I have quite the appetite. Really? This is when Drake and Bahamut said the boy is part dragon. He can handle his food. Wait, so to become more dragon, he must eat a lot. Quite energy absorbing. So, one of my size steak should be enough. Possibly. Cut one half the size in case he isn't done. Alright. As all of this stuff was done, the huge amounts of meat were distributed to the dragons, and 20 dragon apples were given to Issei. This is when Issei said, what about the training? Well, we have 7 more. We have 14 days, boy. You have to eat every day. Alright? What will my training be? It was going to be dodging my magic until you could reach Balance Breaker. Well, I've already reached it in one, and the other I'm pretty close to as well. Do you think it'll need another trigger? No, I think I only need... That kind of triggered it, but I'm good for that. So what do you need? Sparring. May I find a dragon strong enough to match you? At least currently. You know, as well as I do, other than you, no dragon here would match me. Yes, there's a few, though. Like the other Dragon King I know. And the 2 dragon gods. I'd recommend the heavenly dragons. They seem on your level currently, but I'd highly doubt you could fight them at the current state you're in. What do you mean? Well, with being one of them inside you and the other one inside your rival, I highly doubt it. Ah. But there's a boy I'm supposed to train with as well. Maybe you and him could spar? That's not gonna work. Alright. Well, then I'll spar you myself. As this is when he had 2 of the 2nd and 3rd strongest dragons in the area, people he countered as close to being Dragon King material as it could get. A 40 and a 45 foot, not foot, 40 and 45 meter dragon. As they both walked in, Tannin had told them, "You two, spar with him." As Saji said, "So I spar with these 2 ones?" Yes, even though they're quite larger, they're an earth and fire type dragon. Fire one will blow fire, earth will hit you with earth. Once you can defeat both of them, you will win. You have 14 days. Alright, 1 second, guys. As I was saying, so let's go. And once their training was done, because we don't really see it in the anime other than him dodging a few fire blasts, and that's it. But in this version, he was sparring with him the whole time. Day was done, they ate. Day began, they trained. Middle of the time, when they were done with all that, when they were done eating, they went to sleep. When they woke up, they started training. And it went that way for the entire 2 weeks. When they were both done, they even showed improvement in Tannin's abilities as well, showing to be quite near one of the strongest beings in existence now. As he said, he's far above where he was before. He may even be the strongest dragon king if you wish to be again. But he wasn't sure since Tiamat was still considered the strongest dragon king. He says, why don't we go check it and see? And this is when Drake said, I don't fucking recommend it. Why not? She fucking hates me. Why? I made a promise I didn't make do. You're an idiot, Drake. Let's go. Besides, I'm pretty sure I can take a hit. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Of course you can take a hit. But I wouldn't recommend it. Alright, let's just go. And before he has to go back, they teleport in there, and he actually said, Tiamat, you there? As she walks in, a 70-meter dragon that looks above where Tannin was when they met. Issei, who doesn't quite have a dragon form, though he does have this thing he calls Dragon Force. I'm stealing that from Fairy Tail. It's basically where a part of his body becomes dragonic in nature, more so than it was before. Though he isn't dragon-sized yet, he can get there quickly. His parts become more dragonic. He already has 2 dragon arms. One being a gear, but still. His legs start looking more dragonic. His entire upper torso starts getting scales on it. And his eyes get more like the dragons themselves. Though his scales on his sides are 2 very different colors. One being golden with black light highlights about it. The other being red with green highlights about it. Anyway, as this is when the 2 of these, as Issei would proceed to walk right into the cave with Tannin. They both walk in. Tiamat is pissed sensing Drake. She ran in, tried to kick Issei in the face with a full force attack, but stops right in her tracks when she sees a 75-meter Tannin looking eye to eye with her, actually being a little bit above her. She asks, "Tannin, you're stronger now, aren't you? Dragons grow when they get stronger." "Yes, I am." "Does that mean you're on my level now?" "Above you, I think. We need to have a test of power to see." "I'm game if you are," as they fight each other to full force until they were done. In the end, Tannin was still standing while Tiamat was sitting down. Issei healed both of them with Phoenix Tears and said, "Enough." But this is when she said, "Enough games, Tannin. Who is the boy? And what is he doing in a dragon domain like mine?" "Well, the boy's name is Issei. He's the current Red Dragon Emperor and wielder of Bahamut. Bahamut the Fool." Bahamut saying, "Say that to my face, Tiamat." "Oh, I will, if you ever get out of the gear. You let yourself get put in one, dummy." As Issei starts laughing a little bit, and she says, "What's so funny, boy? You know you're top on my priority list of murder, right? I'm not worried. After all, you're quite weaker than me." "What's that supposed to mean?" As he said, "Dragon Force." Boy, mimicking the dragon. Those are actual dragon scales on your body." "Yes, I'm about 50% dragon, 40% devil, and about 10% human. Though, soon I'll change that, but not quite yet." "Alright, let's see what you got." As they both flew forward at each other with full speed, two wings bursting out of Issei's back, his shirt being thrown off in the process. As you could only see a ripped physique as he flew forward, every hit matching Tiamat's at full force. As then, Tiamat was exhausted at the end of it. She lay down, beaten and defeated. As Issei stood over her without much more than a scratch on his cheek, he said, "Are you alright?" "Of course not. I was just outpowered and outstrengthened in every regard. I give up." As Issei said, "I figured you would. So why did you and Drake have such a falling out?" "The idiot was supposed to be my mate. I was the only girl for him, but then he decided to not." "Why didn't he? Him and Albion both got trapped in their gears, their stupid fight. What it was over, I don't even know." As surprising enough, Drake is the one to mention something. "I know what it was about. Sad to say why, though. Albion probably doesn't remember quite as well, but I do slightly remember it." And this is when she asked, "Why then, Drake? Why did y'all fight?" He said, "If I didn't beat him, he would take you from me. I couldn't let that slide. No matter what I did, he kept doing it. He got closer and closer, until one day I snapped. At one point, he was even standing above you when you're resting in your cave. As the vanishing dragon, he could do it quite easily. The day before it started, he tried doing something to you in the middle of the night. I grabbed him and threw him out of the cave, and walked him right down in the area, step by step." This is when she said, "What? So you two were in a battle to the death. A true battle to the death. Not friendly at all. He claimed that he deserved it. It was his right to do what he wanted with an unmated female. I said it was not his right to take a woman without her consent, and what he did was hit me in the mouth, and attempt to do it anyway, until I was sealed with him in different gears, but it was worth it to keep you safe." "Really, Drake?" "Of course. I'd never abandon you." as waterworks started to appear, but this is when Drake said, until the boy reaches twice my level, or maybe even 4 times, because of Bahamut. I don't think I'll be able to leave, though. This is when she actually swore herself to Drake, but Drake said, don't swear yourself to me. My time has passed, and I'm no longer the dragon I was. I can feel myself slipping away every gear movement. I can, however, tell you this. There is a man for you, who may be closer than you think. This is when she actually swore herself to Issei. And Issei said, what? Well, aren't you the feisty one? Well, there's always been a chance it could happen. Issei, if you were willing, I'll merge my mind in yours. This is when Bahamut said, I'll do the same. It'll be fun. Then what will happen? Well, most likely our mates will be attracted to you more. Who are your mates? Well, Tiamat. As Drake stated this, and then on Bahamut's side he said, well, that's the hard part. Figuring that one out. What do you mean? The dark dragon goddess. Voida. This is when they both said, what? Even though she was no true dragon god, she was considered one by me. A dark one on the power level equal to a king, dragon king, but never decided to become one. You mean, I'd say she would have been the weakest of them, but close to the second weakest. Close to second, because her and the actual weakest were pretty even. So, where is she? This is when, surprisingly enough, out of everyone, Tiamat said, I know where she is. Where? Well, come with me. As they all flew away, Issei, using his red and black wing, as they matched up, they all flew and landed. Issei still in dragon force. As he looked eye to eye with this dragon, one who just sat there, not caring who was in her domain, not bowing or anything. What is it, Tiamat? Why is Tannin here? What's wrong? As this is when he said, dear sister, you know why I'm here, don't you? You feel his presence. Why is that traitor here? Why is my husband here? As this is when Bahamut said, hello, my darling. Silence, traitor. You left me to become a gear. Leave me at once, or face my wrath. This is when Issei straight up said, why? Why is he a traitor? As this is when she said, you left me. As this is when she walked by Issei. He left me in this area by myself for the past 100 years. This is when Tiamat said, and Drake left me in my own area for 2,000. So what? This is the boy who wields both. Can't you see the energies he has? The wings, the eyes. They do appear just like the boys did. Why? Why do you come here, boy? Well, the minds and souls of them are merging with my own, as there will no longer be a boosting gear. Well, there will be a fragment of one. It will still give someone the ability of boosting, but all the information will be from a past wielder, never the original dragon itself. And same for the absolute magic canceling gear. Oh, is that right? This is when Issei threw them both out. Both the minds merging into his own, as he stood tall, saying, I have my own mates, but if you would join that list. This is when he started speaking in the native dragon tongue. As he started to speak, she understood exactly what he's saying. His words, translated English, of course. My darling, I have waited so long for this. I owed Issei the favor I had to do, and it was for the greater good of my kind. It was for the greater good of everyone, even you. But now I am returning. I am back to the man I was, true. I'm not the man I was, true, but I am just as much who I was before, and more. Tears in his eyes, Issei said, We are one. What? Yes, we are one. Drake's voice rang out. We are one. As Issei's voice merging with theirs, you hear, We are Issei Hyodo, dragon of domination and vanish of magic. Or anti-magic. The two strongest. The one who stands above the rest. The god, dragon of domination and anti-magic. Hearing this sounds almost godly, as she would instantly bow and give herself to Issei. Thank you, my darling. As this is when Issei finally went back to... As Issei kind of felt weird having these two merge with him now. Their voices still kind of rung out with him, but his thoughts were never his own. He felt weird, but he let it happen. He wanted it to happen. He came back and explained what happened, and the girls were shocked and astonished. But then he started to deal with the battles. The battle against that one dude who wanted Asya. Issei erased him almost instantly, since the dragon part of him said, Don't let anyone take your woman. So he didn't. He ripped them in shreds in less than a second, and no one could stop him. Then he looked eye to eye with two beings that transcended him entirely. He said, Ophis, Great Red, what do I owe the pleasure? Boy. Great Red speaks in a booming voice. Boy, you're not the man you say you are. I read multiple signatures of dragon, only obtained through fusion. Complete fusion. Almost as if they no longer exist other than you. What did you do? As Issei straight up was honest, he told him the story. Great Red saying, That is a lie, boy. If that were true, with tears in his eyes, why? Why, my brother? Why? As in, both Voida and Tiamat both appeared behind Issei, saying, I'm sorry, your abundanceness, but please spare my husband. Hearing this, these two only ever claimed Drake or Bahamut as their husbands. This made zero sense. Issei saying, I am Issei Hyodo, of human and devil. I am Bahamut, of dragon. I am Drake, of dragon. But most importantly, I am now all of them at once. I now am Issei Hyodo, dragon of domination and anti-magic. Hearing this, they said, Alright, then ascend. Show your full force, boy. Issei's dragon force not only stood different, he said absolute dragon mode. As tears welled up in his eyes, he said, Now it happens. As he went into it, he looked eye to eye with the two dragons, almost their size. One being 90 kilometers, the other being 100. As he looked eye to eye with them at an 87. showing his full power, Ophis straight up said, "You're on the level of a dragon god, aren't you?" I should have known those two's power combining. A heavenly dragon and the closest to one. Well, welcome to the godhood. Issei saying, "So what am I now? You're the dragon god of domination." As Issei's eyes looked at them, saying, "If that is your will. But, are you certain?" "Of course we are." As Issei then proceeded to say, "Well, then it's good to meet you, my fellow gods. I hope you will show me what I need to do. Be the most dominant and most powerful force of nature. Let no magic hit you at all." "Yes, ma'am." This is when, surprisingly enough, they both parted ways for a second to give him a blessing of godhood, a mark on his head. And he went to human form. You could see the mark still on him. He looked eye to eye with his two mates as they all went home, as Issei started to relax, as those both turned into their human form, one being a black-haired woman, the other being blue. Tiamat being blue. Both, but it was a very dark blue. As they laid next to him in bed, they all heard what had happened, and they had accepted it. As this is when we're gonna kind of finish it off for part 4, with Issei about to face Cyber-Org, as he had already become a god. He wasn't using either of the dragon's abilities, not to boost nor magic canceling. He had no magic to cancel for Cyber-Org. They fought to a battle that went to a standstill. Issei using the abilities helping him from the god of dreams and infinity, both of them, as he walked forward and healed the boy's mother. As Issei proceeded to walk home, not walk home, but fly to his new domain. His domain, the entire planet Earth, to protect and keep in touch with. As Issei would look eye to eye with the two, with all the beauties next to him, over the next few years, a lot of children started to pop up that were all his. You could tell by the looks in their eyes and their skin. They were mostly dragonic skin, because Issei was already part dragon whenever they were conceived. As Issei said, "I have done it. I have left my legacy." As he truly ascended in godhood, becoming the strongest of them, finally defeating Great Red and saying, "I'm now the true dragon god of domination and anti-magic." As you see a purple flame blow out of his mouth, he said, "And I loved every second of it." As he starts to truly lead the world. Eventually, it's discovered that magic is real, devils are really things, and all the news about everything was true. As Issei showed his full force, as the true dominant species in the world, all dragons started to bow to him. Every god bent a knee. Odin being the one to congratulate him more than anyone, as everyone eventually said, "Congratulations, my boy. You are now the truest god." As this is where we're going to end the series off, guys. So, part 4, final part. That was it. We'll see y'all later.